Hello, and thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me today. I hope that there is something within this that is of benefit to you or to somebody that you know. Please like, subscribe, and share. One of the things you want to look at is to know what's at stake. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, it is a habit. We are not evil, mankind, that is. However, we are born susceptible to temptation. We are given free will without the wisdom of considering our actions or understanding what that free will actually means. It's a God given right. Some people just want to watch the world burn. Man is far more capable of evil by itself without the devil even being involved at all. The power to dictate to others is so strong that many will go ahead and use this ability. This shown by a lot of American politicians, especially as of recent. Look at Biden in the classified documents, and for some reason, he's still president. The rumors flying around, let alone the actual substantial stuff, is incredibly, at the very least, inflammatory. Vice these days is taught in schools as being good, and virtue as a whole is bad. Minnesota is currently demanding that teachers affirm transgenderism or they don't get their license. Teachers are not allowed to teach Christianity, Muslimism, or Judaism if they want to get a teaching license, which again, there's something there to that. Where is the teachings of virtue and morals, especially in our schools today? They teach that debauchery is just fine. The left continues to push that love is love, consent has no age, but you can't smoke till you're 21. I heard an advocate against sex trafficking talking about how it really doesn't matter the age, as long as the community says it's okay. I have a problem with that because there's plenty of things right now that the Democrats are saying, well, the people voted us into office and therefore we get to make the rules. I have a big problem with that kind of idea. Now, I was listening to my son, he's homeschooled, but even the weird teachings is getting into this. They were teaching, well, Native Americans did have slaves. They did have black slaves. They were kinder and more gentler than white people were to their slaves. The book talks about how the Native Americans would capture other Native American tribes, do such things as including, but not limited to, say, cutting off a foot to those slaves. But the book was teaching, oh no, they let the African slaves interbreed. And I'm like, why would suddenly the teaching of that be different? It's hard to imagine the Comanche were any nicer to black settlers than they were to white settlers. And of course, you have most natives where they will tell you that there was something, most native nations will tell you there was someone here before them. They're still being considered the native population of this continent. Again, it doesn't quite jive with the history that I know, considering the area I'm in was conquered by the Spanish, 300 years in the past, about 100 years before America won its independence on the East Coast. I find that a lot today in schools, there's a lot of blame over accountability. Let me give you the perfect example of blame over accountability. 5 men murder 1 man, and it's white supremacy. Even the police chief is a black female. Yet Cori Bush still says it's white supremacy. Mr. Crump still says it's white supremacy. Oh, and 2 of the EMTs out of the 3 that were there were black as well. The mayor is black. So why is it white supremacy again? I'm told it's because the laws that are in place is white supremacy. So let's look at this Scorpion unit, the special training to slow gang violence. And all of them were hired after three of them were hired after the standards for policing was lowered because of Black Lives Matter. The city of Memphis offered a 15,000 sign-on bonus and lowered the education standard for allowing and even going so far as to allow ex-felons to be able to apply to the police force. If you pass the police academy, you would get paid $15,000. The mayor also went ahead and said that no one is to wash out of the police academy. So, regardless of how bad you did, here's an example again of equity over merit. A meritocracy, merit-based system versus an equitable system. Standards are lower even in the police force. Now, Officer Haley was already accused of excessive violence from a jail where he was charged from a jail, but the charges were dropped by the inmate because he was an inmate in a federal penitentiary and unable to process the proper paperwork on time. This was in 2018. In 2020, the department was given trouble for the hiring of blacks, as they and Hispanics are supposed to statistically be less likely to use force than a white male officer. The mayor specifically told the police academy no one is to fail. Ibram X. Kennedy has said that it's white supremacy, which the leading cause of black men dying. Statistics show black on black crime is the leading cause of black male death. Cori Bush, who claims that the police should be defunded, yet pays for $70,000 for personal security and calls for citizen policing, which makes me think of RoboCop, or it could swing the other way and we could find ourselves looking at a Judge Dredd situation. I looked at some crime statistics. White criminals are beat by police more than black, but you don't hear about that because even the local news stations don't consider it a story. Now, why is that? It doesn't promote the current narrative. Statistics.com, white deaths in police custody in 2017, 253 white died in police custody, whereas blacks was 163, natives were 18, and in 2016, 267 whites, 144 blacks, 7 natives, showing as a white male, you are more likely to die in police custody than if you're a black man. Yet Whoopi has sat there and said, "Where's the proof?" Even called for for white people to be beaten in the street to understand what it's like to be black. No one who is black really lives under the threat of being beaten in the street randomly. However, in California, there was a gentleman riding his bike, I understand on the I-44, and a gentleman got out of his car with a BB gun and then proceeded to beat this man. Now, witnesses claim, and the man who got out of the car had a gun and stabbed the bicyclist 7 times, as well as when he got out, he was carrying a BB gun, which, again, could, in a situation where you just got run over. Now, witnesses say that there were racial slurs being said by the man who got out of the car as he stabbed the man. The police report, however, reports none of this, none of the racial slurs or anything like that. What makes this so interesting is the man on a bike was a 53-year-old white ER doctor. And the man that got out of the Lexus, the car, was obviously an African American. But have you heard about this on mainstream news? So BLM pushes that skin color is more important and removes merit. And no one claims that as a condition of what is going on. It's an uncomfortable truth. Blacks commit 36% of the violent crimes in the U.S., yet we'll be generous and say that they make up 13% of the population. Blacks in England commit crimes at nearly 3 times the rate of the rest of the population there. The information that's given of the black crime rate in the U.S. and the black crime rate in the U.K. prove that there is no systemic or institutional racial bias in the U.S., and that the judicial system is not unfairly targeting blacks. There is no systemic racism in the U.S. justice system other than maybe the individual judges. There is no racial bias that in any way shows the unfair targeting of innocent blacks in the U.S. criminal system. The cycle of black crime begins with the breakdown of the family values, and that has a 72% of the black pregnancy creating low-income single parent households. Black children growing up in a single-parent, low-income situation are likely to repeat the cycle unless they raise children in a married two-parent household with more stability. And I will go so far as to say values, in which virtue is considered a value over which vices are condemned. White privilege isn't creating a system that unfairly arrests and prosecutes black. The black parents making bad life choices are creating situations that increase the likelihood of bad outcomes happening. And those are the ones who are responsible, but they refuse to accept accountability. White privilege isn't real, and it isn't responsible for black people committing more crimes. Black adults making poor life choices are the ones responsible. Where is the accountability in all that you see right now? It's always blame somebody else for my current problems, not taking responsibility of bad life choices. According to crimetraveler.org, after doing research in just 5 states, the mortality rate of white inmates in 2016, I believe that's still while Obama is in, and Trump hasn't quite gotten into office, 240 per 100,000 inmates was more than double the rate for black inmates, which was 218 per 100,000 black inmates, which is almost triple the rate of Hispanics inmates at 87 per 100,000 Hispanic inmates dying in police custody. Now you can go to the Bureau of Justice website, which is bjs.gov, and download the statistics and see them for yourselves. Now, I also wanted to go a little bit into the bit about Tyree Nichols. The DA is currently investigating if Tyree was dating one of the police officer's ex-wives, because Haley, the officer that is charged with excessive force, sent pictures of Tyree to his ex-wife after they'd beaten him, as well as Tyree being co-workers with Haley's ex-wife, who is also his baby mama. So claims of white supremacy imply that black people are not or do not have self-agency for their actions or free will, as they are locked in what white men think of them. It means that black people are not accountable or responsible for their own actions. And then, of course, with things like this, while they're busy saying it wasn't an angry man taking it, again, we still don't know why Tyree was even pulled over or who was the actual officer pulling him over. I don't, at least, as of the recording of this. Yet Tyree still gets the vice president speaking at his funeral, saying how we need to push the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. And again, this goes back to the accountability of the individual officers, not all police officers. Just like you can't hold all judges accountable for an individual judge's decision. I'm going to go ahead and post the links where I got these with this video as well. And I'd like to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to watch this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment down below. It does help. Leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think I deserve it. And with that, you can also find us on Locals, Odyssey, and Rumble, where you can support us, as well as talking to us on Gettr and Gab. Also, please feel free, with it being tax season, to visit our website at dlmentors.com. United we stand, divided we fall. God bless you, and God bless America.